I
Oh, I
see
still.
you.
Awesome. Yes.
Hey, this looks pretty awesome, man.
I keep forgetting that's there because it's it's only set up in Zoom, so I don't use it as often, and then I kind of forget it's there. I was like,
Yeah, but it looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's got good vibes, So it's awesome.
to get that spun around. So, are we doing this live or is this like a recording?
No, it's recording and then it will go live in a couple of days.
Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we can screw up,
I'm so used to doing it live that it's like it.
I know. Yeah, even I was doing live for a few days, and then I thought like because a lot of people actually need captions and all those kind of things. There was like people were asking for like if there can be some because it goes to a lot of other countries like in European countries and India. There's a lot of viewership there. And so they wanted a lot of tips and everything to be highlighted, a lot of links to be connected and stuff like that. So this
So
sort of
how do you do that? I mean, how do you do the subtitles in the different languages? Do you have a special program for it, or?
yeah. So my team does it, so I just hand it over to them.
I need it. That's it. I need a team. That's the problem. It's just me and Indy. That's it.
Yeah, but that's a great team, man.
So, I mean, it's one of those things that I've told people for years. It's like I'm really good at pitching games and marketing, companies and all this sort. I don't have a clue how to market a YouTube stream or Twitch or any of that. It's like I don't have a clue. Somebody was recommending something on our Discord the other day, and they're like, look into the hashtags for YouTube. And I was like, I don't know anything about that.
Exactly. Yeah. I know both about the hashtags. What Indy told me, was like just be, fun, when you're on the show and have fun, just go with the flow. And the community is like, you build slowly. It's not gonna happen overnight. So, yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
trust me,
yeah.
I know. I mean, we have that Discord that I didn't even understand why we were making it when we first made it, and now it's got like 1,100 people in it. And
Oh wow, yeah. I'm pretty active there on your Discord.
Let's see. We've had so many pop in. Now it's like starting to snowball. It's like more. So I haven't even checked lately what it is.
So you're gonna have a huge community very soon because Discord is trending. You are already in Twitch and you got 1,100 people. You are representing a lot of people. So I'm pretty sure it's just about time you're gonna be the PewDiePie of probably Discord.
I hope I am far less racist than he is. That's the only. Can I be one? Can I be a better one than that?
Yeah, I totally get it. I hear you, man. That's true.
So it's been funny because every time I've looked at my calendar, you named it the positive COVID discussion, and it looks like some kind of doctor's appointment that I'm having, and I'm like, every time I've looked at it, I've been like, oh shit, am I testing positive?
I'm so sorry.
Don't even remember taking the test.
Yeah, I should name it chilled out video game industry discussion.
It's all good.
That's
it's all
funny.
good. So, I mean, how's your family? I mean, I know because you had the same thing we've got here. So
yeah. They're holding up nice and fine. Amazing. In fact, it's been one of the finest days. And not good to say because of the other issues and stuff, but in the family and other things was just fine. It was like a pretty good long vacation for me after college. This was the only vacation I had. 2 months. Pretty much. Of course, we were working and all that, but still sitting at the comfort of our house and, cooking dishes and doing new things and all those kind of things, which never happened. So I'm pretty sure it was super fun, So how about you?
My wife just did I honestly, I haven't had time to do a vacation. But it's not like, you could really go anywhere anyway. And so my wife and son, and then her best friend, when they were growing up together,
Right.
they rented a vacation house like
Oh, wow.
30 minutes from here. It's not even like that far, but they didn't go out and do like a whole bunch of stuff in
Right.
public, but she was just like, I have to get out of this house. It's
Yeah.
okay if I go to another house
Yep.
and I don't go
You
anywhere
need
for
to,
3 or 4
just
days.
break the whole thing, right?
Yeah, she's
The
like, I
same
just have
house
to get
to
out
feel
of
it.
this house.
I
So
get it.
she
I get
she
it.
did a ton of research and found a
Right.
house that hadn't been rented in like, I mean, most
Right.
of it, they just now opened it where you
Mm-hmm.
can rent houses again around here
Mm-hmm.
like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But she
Okay.
found one that
Wow.
hadn't been rented yet, for like several months. So she didn't have to worry about going in there and
Awesome.
being like, okay, what kind of germs are around here? And did they clean it? Because like I said, my wife has gone through 2 rounds of thyroid cancer. And so
Mm-hmm.
her immune system, it, it's already compromised. It doesn't need to be subjected to something even worse. So
Right.
it was good, and she got to unwind, and I
Yeah.
sat here. Me and the dog stayed here, and
Uh-huh.
that's what we did.
Yeah. She just wanted to get rid of you for some days, probably.
Yeah, that's it. And I get it. I even went out there like a couple of nights. I'd go out there and spend a couple of hours hanging out by the campfire and, with the kids and everything. But
Very
it's just
cool.
like you have to get a break from
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
immediately around
right.
you, even
Exactly.
even if you're not going far away on a vacation. So
Right. Yep, I get it. Yeah. So we begin. Just
I thought we
just
already began. All right,
yeah,
yeah,
we're
okay.
already having fun. And
I'll put on my
let me just introduce you. So like people of course know you, larger community. But still, I would still take a stab at that. So yeah, so hello everyone. Please welcome Jay Powell. Who's the CEO of the Powell Group. And runs one of the most popular and pioneering, online event called the indie game business. And I was fortunate. We had great time. I was there on his show. We had like a lot of fun for like around 90 minutes or so. And so yeah, it was fun. And the best part is that he pretty much pioneered the whole online event thing. I guess 2 years ago.
like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
You're giving me far more credit than I think we deserve, but yes, it's like a year and a
So why
half
do
ago.
why yeah, so why don't you just speak for yourself, man? Like just introduce yourself, so people get to know how awesome you are.
Thank you. So I've been on the business end of the industry for 22 years, 23 years, somewhere between 20 and 25 years. I lost
Mhm.
count at some point. And it's always been on, helping developers find publishers. Over the years, of course, it's grown. Our consulting firm is 10 years old now, as of July 1st, so almost 10 years old. And we get hired by developers and publishers and tech companies and conferences and anyone who wants access to this massive network of
Mhm.
750 some publishers and another
Wow.
4,000 developers that we track. We keep up with what they're looking for, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what they want to do,
Mhm.
all that sort of stuff. So that's the company part. That's my real
Mhm.
job. But 10 years ago, I was giving a lecture at one of the GDC offshoots that we used to have,
Mhm.
and I was talking about getting a publisher, and I said,
Mhm.
you have to learn how to qualify your publisher to make sure they're a good fit for you. And then I went to the next slide,
Right.
and somebody raised their hand, and they were like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What? Oh my, you don't know what I mean." And it hit me that, even though I had only been doing it for 10 years at that point,
Uh-huh.
we have knowledge that we assume everybody else has, but they
Mhm.
don't. And that was one of the first realizations that, okay, we need to do something to
Mhm.
help people. And so, being a business person, I
Uh-huh.
did what business people do, and I wrote a bunch of white papers and I put
Oh
them out
wow.
there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Nobody reads white papers. I don't know why. They didn't read them 10 years ago. They don't read them now. It's like, no, it doesn't do any good. And so
Yeah, I
it
agree.
was still like frustrating. It was like, okay, so our only option was to speak at events. And so
Hmm.
I would, I would submit lectures, and sometimes it got accepted and sometimes it didn't. And then then we were actually contracted by a couple of conferences, and I saw how the lecture system worked from inside a conference. And I went, oh, oh, wait, they usually just give lectures to people that they know or people that they want to be there or to sponsors. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but that's a big part of it. You kind of want to, and it makes sense to an extent.
Oh
You
yeah.
want big names to come to your conference so other people come. And so you're like, oh, yeah, you can have a speaking spot. And the sponsors that are paying $30,000-$40,000 to have a banner put up, it's like, oh, yeah, you can have a lecture. And I was just like, this is crazy. And the fact
Right.
that, if you're a developer and you want to go to GDC or Gamescom or
Hmm.
whatever it is, I
Hmm.
mean, GDC alone, I spend $5,000-$10,000 to be
Oh
there for
yeah.
a week, and I'm in the
Oh,
US.
right.
And
Imagine the flight of people flying from around
yeah,
the globe,
that's
right?
it. And
Yeah.
it's like the people that need to be listening and learning at GDC can't afford a $2,500 ticket just to get in the
Yep.
door and so they
Right.
can listen to this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then you start tacking on hotels and flights and food. I mean, you go to a
Yep.
diner to get a very basic breakfast in San Francisco, and it's going to cost you $15-$20.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. And I was like, okay, so you need to be there. You
Uh-huh.
can't afford to be there. I mean, that's the reality. So, and this was like two and a half years ago, something along those lines. And Twitch was gaining momentum and all this stuff. And so I was like, oh, wait a minute, why don't we just give lectures online and make them free to everybody?
Uh-huh.
And so I called the only streamer that I knew because I had met him through another conference, and I was like, okay, I can do the content,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know the first thing about streaming and then OBS and overlays and Twitch. I know nothing about it. So I called Dan, AKA Indy, and
Indeed.
I'm
Yeah.
like, look, this is what I want to do. Can
Hmm.
can you help? Because
Hmm.
I don't know any of this stuff. And he's like, yeah, it sounds great. And it just so happened that the name Indie Game Business
Uh-huh.
was open. No one had that
Wow.
wasn't
What are the
taken. And
odds? What are the odds?
I know. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And then, I signed it up. And so we started doing, if you go back on Twitch and look at like the very first things that we did, it was literally me giving a presentation like we do at conferences.
Start with the man in
And
the mirror, right? So
yeah,
you.
and I was like, after we did about a dozen of them, I'm like, you know what? People are going to get really sick of watching me give presentations. This isn't interactive. This isn't, engaging to watch me every week come on and talk about something else with a slide deck. That's
Hmm.
just not going to
Hmm.
be. And I was like, well, I know a whole lot of people in the industry. Let me just call
Reach
them.
out. Yep.
So that's how it started. I would pick up the phone and call my friends and like, hey, look, do you want to come talk about marketing for an hour? Or do you want to talk about community
Hmm.
management or how to do a business deal or finding a publisher? And that's how it started. And so, that Twitch show is now the podcast that we do.
Hmm.
And I was hesitant to put it on a podcast for a long time because I was like,
Hmm.
there's so many podcasts, no one's ever going to pay attention, no one's ever going to,
Right.
we're not going to get any traction. And so it was like 8 months ago. We haven't even had the podcast live for a year, I
Hmm.
don't think.
Hmm.
And it already eclipsed like the number of listens that we had
Listeners.
on views on Twitch in like 2 years. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
so this is obviously the better way to go. But we started where we record the show live and we use Restream. And so when we go live, it goes live to Facebook, to Twitch, to Mixer,
Yeah.
to um, the YouTube, and then to LinkedIn, which we actually just finally got working again. We couldn't figure out why our LinkedIn, view feed wasn't working for months. It's like we could
Oh,
get
wow.
audio, but, and I think
You
that's the
can't
way it
see the
was when we
video.
had you on. It was like,
Yeah.
you couldn't get video.
Yeah.
Finally, someone last week over at Restream was like, oh, it's because you're streaming in 60 frames per second and LinkedIn only allows for 30. And I'm like, that the whole time, that's the issue. And he goes, don't feel bad. He goes, they only told us that like a week ago. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So we feel like we got a good medium. Whether people are listening or not, I can't control it. It's like, do you want to learn this stuff? If you do, here's the material. If you don't, well, don't. That's the reality of it. But we felt like we had that part. We had a way of getting it out there. And so the next step of this was, if they can't go and listen to the speakers and learn, they can't go to meet publishers either.
Absolutely.
And so, I appreciate the phrase pioneering. It does, in retrospect, it looks like this brilliant, he was so far ahead of his time. And, because we started doing stuff.
How do you feel it now? Like when everybody's jumping.
I'll tell you. So I called up, we started doing research. I'm not going to say I don't like to just jump into something without, thinking about it, because I will. But I was like, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And so we spent like 2 months talking to developers and publishers, just trying to get an idea of, okay, if we did a digital event, what do you want out of it? And we sat down, and then there were several meeting platforms that were out there that we've been using in the industry for years. And the ones over at Meet to Match was always my favorite. Because,
Fedor.
Fedor, because their system works. You can have a meeting system, but if the right people can't find the other right people, it's useless.
There's no point in
And that's the way GDC's meeting system is. It's useless. They have all of the stuff on there and all the exhibitors.
It's GDC Play or something, right?
Yeah, but you can't find the people that you're looking for. It's like, if you are a developer looking for a publisher, there's no way to search that. It's just like, okay, I have to go through like literally all these people and click and see who's doing what. So, we reached out.
Like the old yellow pages kind of thing, right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Have to find.
Yes. And it has like the same amount of description in there. So I reached out to Fedor and I was like, look, man, this is what we want to do. Obviously, it's not what you do already, because their business was very much predicated on being at events and offering, the event organizers and the conferences themselves a lot of value. And he was hesitant about it at first, which is, I still, joke with him today about, hey, look, you didn't want to do this. But he said, okay, let's give it a try, because it's not like we had to go out and build some whole new system for doing this. We literally took the Meet to Match system. And when you reached out and found somebody you were going to meet with, instead of it saying, we'll be meeting at booth 343 in Hall F, it was just a hyperlink, and it was to a video chat. And so it made it a whole lot easier. And that was in March or April of last year. And we ended up doing 2 more last year. We did another one in March, right as GDC was like, imploding. And then we got our 5th one coming up in August. And it's funny to me now, because I spent all last year, writing articles on Medium and posting on LinkedIn and talking to people and being like, digital conferences are a huge opportunity. It's cheaper.
It's
carbon footprint is like nothing. And it's so much more effective. Now you don't have to, if you have a 30-minute meeting with somebody, you have an honest to God 30-minute meeting with them. You don't have, I got here 10 minutes late because I couldn't find the booth, or I was stuck in traffic trying to cross the road, and I have to leave 5 or 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
you actually get 30 minutes to talk to somebody, and there's
Right.
nobody walking by and waving and interrupting and all this other stuff. And got like could not convince people.
I get it. I totally get it.
The folks that came loved it. We got a great reception to it, and
Right.
got quotes on the website and all this other stuff. But for the majority of it, the people that came were people that I had to reach out to directly, one on
hmm
one, and
hmm
explain what we were doing and why it was good. And it was exhausting. And then, of course, COVID comes around, and everybody is going, we should really do digital conferences. And I'm like, yes, that's yes.
Exactly.
And so it's been funny, and but it's been frustrating as well. It's not, we have too many conferences in the industry, like
Oh
traditional
yeah.
ones, like
Oh
live
yes.
ones.
Of course.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. I mean, if
Yeah.
you in 2019, if you wanted to be at a different conference every week of the year, I'm
There
pretty
was
sure
something.
you could have done it.
Yeah. There was
There was
something.
something somewhere.
Yep.
And we're seeing a bit of that now with
Right.
the digital conferences as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And people are learning what works and what doesn't work. And we've got an advantage because
Right.
we had already worked out the majority of those kinks,
Mm-hmm.
a year ago. And
Mm-hmm.
so that, I mean, it's good. I'm glad there's more of them. I I wish they had come to us earlier and like, so what issues should we expect? And I could have gone, your time zones have to match up. You have to have a way to sync it with your calendar. You have to have a reliable way of doing all of these things that we learned the hard way.
Right.
Now I'm sitting here watching other people do it, and but
Did somebody
it's
reach out to you for advices and something like that?
well, we do that. I mean,
Oh, you did
we'll
that.
do
Okay.
consulting, and we will
Uh-huh.
actually run events for other companies if they
Oh,
want us to.
nice. Nice.
The problem is, it's like there's not a gigantic barrier of entry to doing it,
Yeah.
and so we see a lot of people, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to do it on our own," and it's just like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But the frustrations that I see when I attend other ones are the same issues that we had a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
ago
Mm-hmm.
in basic stuff. But basic stuff you don't really think about. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, and like I said, in the course of that, we started a Discord server, and now we're up over 1,100
Yeah.
people on it. And that's not like fans and gamers. I mean, we're all gamers, but I mean, these are business people. These are publishers, marketing
Absolutely.
teams,
Yeah.
all this other stuff. And we've built a really nice
Yeah.
community and environment
Ecosystem
around
over
it.
there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe place if you want to come and ask, what you may think is the stupidest question in the
Yeah.
world.
Uh-huh.
You're going to get feedback, and it's not going to be like, no, noob, stop. No, it's people going, okay, this is what you need to
Yeah.
do, and
No,
this
no
is
trolling there.
yeah, exactly. Because if someone does that, I kick them.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like this
super
is not.
cool.
If you want to go and make fun of people for not
Yeah.
knowing how to do a marketing plan, go
Right.
somewhere else on the internet. We're not, here we're going to help people. So it's been it's been interesting, and it's been fun, because I like doing this. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is crazy now to see all these conferences popping up, and we
The
had a publisher.
traditional ones.
Yeah, we had a publisher a couple of weeks ago posted on LinkedIn that they were so happy. They had been attending these digital events for the last week, and they
Mm-hmm.
had like 70 to 90, I forget how many, it was a lot of games
Mm-hmm.
pitched to them.
Mm-hmm.
And digital events were the way to go, and they loved them. And if you have a digital event coming up, DM me because our team is going to be involved. I had DM'd and spoken to that CEO for every previous event that we had done, and
Oh,
got
damn.
like nothing.
Nothing.
Absolute. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like,
Right?
but that's the frustration level that you get,
Yeah.
sometimes. But you know what? You can't force people into
Right.
this.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
either going to see the value or they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should be thankful that it's a validation time, right? So the idea got validated now, and definitely when people will look around for who started, who are the guys who have been doing it, who has the massive amount of knowledge base, definitely they're going to find you, right? So I'm pretty sure that, there
It,
is. So, yeah.
they are easier to run because you don't have all the logistics of, printing banners and setting up conference halls and
Yeah.
all this sort of stuff. But at the same time, a lot of the same, issues you have to think through are there, plus some more that you don't realize. The time zone
Right.
thing is huge. People do not account for it. And,
Right.
I was in a conference the other week, a fairly large one, and there were people in chat, complaining that the schedule said this talk was at 3:30, and it's like it was 3:30 London time, but no one told them that. No one said, "Hey, here's the actual time zone that we're running
That
in."
yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
The
so it's
teething issues. Yeah.
yeah,
Still figuring
you
out.
get different issues, but you still get issues. So
Right. So how was your
yeah.
experience with the Exola's Your World thing, did you attend that? The virtual expo thing, what Exola did?
Yeah, I did.
So
And
how was your experience?
Justin and Exola, if y'all are listening, the
Hey,
it
Justin.
was I told Justin, I said it was better than I expected
Okay.
because quite frankly, I didn't have a whole lot of expectation. We've been pitched these virtual conferences before,
Right.
and I have yet to be able to get a good answer from like the investors and the startups that were doing it. I'm like, so why
Do you need?
would we do this versus doing like what we do on the indie game business side already? And one of them told me it was because millennials like avatars. And I'm like, that's not a business model.
Right.
It had its hiccups. I mean, there's no doubt, and they'll tell you as well, there were, technical issues, but at the same time, I knew what was going on behind the scenes. And they had taken a game that wasn't even really intended to be a massive
And
multiplayer game
right, right. Well, a
and
city building
built
kind of thing,
this. Yeah.
game. Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, there were technical issues, but it was like you couldn't realistically go into it and not expect it, that there'd be technical issues. And but it was the one thing that surprised me was we had a booth, and I was like, you know what? It's actually really cool to have a booth, something that's there, and you can say that's us. That's
Yes.
we did that. And a lot of the other exhibitors were more like traditional developers and publishers and tech companies and things like that. So they had gameplay videos going on in the background and like commercial promotion type stuff. We're a consulting firm, and we have a podcast. So I
Right.
did go out and I got us animated logos for both Indie Game Business and the Powell Group. Problem was the same problem that you have at a traditional conference. When you're standing at that booth, virtual or not, all day long, you're listening to the damn sound effects from
Yep.
your own trailer, and it's like, oh my God, can I turn that off? That is so annoying.
Yep.
And then, because of that, you could meet in the virtual space, but then you had to go find like a quiet area in the
Right.
virtual space to so I'm like, this
Calm
really
yourself
is
down.
this is exactly like a real conference. It's like we have to meet and then we have to go somewhere that's quiet. It was, I liked it. They used the same sort of meeting system. I mean, they used Meet to Match. They had the same
Yeah,
meeting
they
system
had
that
me
we,
match. Yeah. Yeah.
but it was a matter of logging in. We weren't able to log into the event for the second day for some,
Yeah, same here. I could not come back on the second day. It was
but
locked for me. So
everybody, it's like everybody understood that, and nobody was really upset and bitter in anything by it. And
right.
so we were able to do the meetings like over Skype or Zoom or whatever. But I went into it and I didn't know exactly what to expect, but I was impressed for what they did. in the amount of time with the resources that they had, I was very impressed.
Awesome.
But it's like everything else. It's like there's things that we need to improve on our side. There's things that we need to improve on all the sides. But
Yeah, sure.
I was very surprised at how nice it was to actually have a booth. I mean, it's like I have a little screenshot of our booth still. I was like, hey, look, that's our first virtual booth. Because that was cool.
Yeah, that just has fire it up for me. I'll probably show it during this video when it goes live. You're this thing. I have my move around. I'm like walking around the booths and stuff. I have a video of that. So I recorded my session there in your world. So
I was like, I should. If I didn't have that, my avatar standing like right in front of it, I could use it for my background instead of Animal Crossing right here. But yeah, if you understand what they had to work with, and taking something that wasn't actually built for what they needed it for, it was
decent job.
It was good. I was impressed.
Right, awesome. So today is the day E3 was supposed to get started, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
Are you missing it? I'm sure not.
E3 is E3 is an interesting event, and we had talked to them when all the COVID stuff happened about helping them do a digital event, and it's almost like sad in a way because E3, for those of us who have grown up with E3, and my first E3 was 20-some years ago when it was in Atlanta. It wasn't even in LA.
Mine was 19 years ago.
So you missed the Atlanta phase. I think,
exactly.
I think we went to Atlanta once or twice. I don't remember, but I remember it was in Atlanta because I liked it because I'm on the East Coast of the U.S. and I'm like, God, I don't have to go 6 hours across the country to get there. But I think E3 has really been struggling for years to figure out who. It's like an identity crisis. It's like they're going through a midlife crisis. It used to be that's where you had to be when you were showing your game, and that's where all the marketing people were. That's where the buyers were from Walmart and Best Buy and Virgin over in the UK, and that was it. You had to be there. But then when digital distribution came around, it was like the more that took off, the less important the buyers were. And then when, especially like when influencers, when YouTube and Twitch started happening, I remember it was a huge ordeal. I mean, there was some angry people in the media when E3 first announced that they were going to let streamers in as media.
Right.
And that was not a popular move because the media saw them, the streamers, as those are competitors. Those aren't people that are going to be beneficial. These are these magazines made their money off of advertising and getting the people to buy the magazines and to go to the websites and to read the reviews, and the thought that just anybody with a webcam and a decent internet connection could come in and go, oh, well, we're just going to do this and we're just going to stream the game and be done with it. That was like, oh no. And it's just been like they haven't been able to really find their role in the industry in the last 5 or 10 years, and it's already been I mean, it's E3's already gone away once or twice. I think this is like a third time that it's gone away.
Oh yeah.
And it's because they can't figure out where they need to be.
Right.
And I've got theories on that, but at the end of the day,
what is the most popular theory you got?
So you got to understand who runs E3. E3 is run by the ESA, the Electronic Software Association. Yeah. So, which in the U.S. is basically a government lobbying group. They're the ones that go to Congress and to the president and to say, hey, look, we need you know, this is what's going on in our industry and we need legislation to help this, and their clients. And then you go like the next level and it's like, so who's paying, who are members of the ESA? And it's all the big publishers. It's not the indie publishers and the indie developers. It's the big companies. And they're going to always put on events that benefit those big companies. Well, when those big companies suddenly realize, and the first time E3, you know, went away was, it was like right after, like, I think the Harry Potter stuff started launching on games, and you had EA would come in, and EA literally built a castle in, you know, South Hall at E3. And these publishers looked around and they're like, we're spending millions of dollars on a 3-day event. And, you know, sometimes we can reuse that stuff, sometimes we can't, but, you know, we're spending, and they were like, I don't think it's worth it. And so it always starts this like snowball effect. It's like one, you know, EA's like, we're not really going to do anything this year. And then Sony's like, well, if they're not doing anything, maybe we shouldn't do it. And it just starts like a set of dominoes. And I think that's been, you know, they just haven't been able to figure out who their audience really is. Because their audience was very easy for many, many, many years. Our audience is the media, the buyers, and the marketing companies. That's who is coming to the show to see all of these games. And that's not the case anymore, because you don't need to go to a show to see these games. I think if someone like magically put me in charge of E3, you know, it's one of those things that they have a wonderful brand, which was part of the reason I was so upset they didn't want to do a digital event at all. They have one of the most powerful brands in the industry, because no matter where you are in the world, when someone says, oh, E3 is coming up, people are like, oh, E3 is coming up, because that's where we always got all the cool news about everything. I think they should better embrace the consumer side of it. And, you know, you have conferences like PAX, you know, which you know, has absolutely nailed it on terms of, you know, this is how we get consumers excited. You know, the best one, in my opinion, globally is Gamescom, you know, because they have massive area. And it's funny when you come back from Gamescom and you try to explain to people how big that show is. And it's like, take one of those halls that we have at GDC or E3 and then make 12 of them. And that's, that's roughly how big it is.
Absolutely. But I think 400,000 last year, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, but they separate it. Like if you are here doing business, here's your area, and you have a nice, quiet, business-focused area where you're not trying to yell to the person next to you because the sound is so deafening coming out. And then they have an entire other area that is massive, where they basically let in the consumers, and they're all dressed up in cosplay, and they're all, and that's where, you know, they have fun. And so you have an area where it's like, you don't have to pick. If you're a company that, you know, wants to be on the consumer side, it's like, okay, we need a booth on the consumer side, and we need a booth on the business side. And I think if E3 would just like literally throw the business stuff out the window, because the reality of it is the people that were going to E3, like me, for the last, you know, several years that it was happening, there were years I didn't even get a pass to go in, because all of the business people and the business meetings were happening across the street in the JW Marriott lobby.
Always.
And that's, it's like, you went on the show floor like once or twice, maybe to look around and see what was going on. But, you know, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of, you know, shows don't like when you do that. You know, when you're there and you're giving the hotel money, and you're giving the area restaurants money,
Right.
but you're not giving them money by
Right.
going into the show, that angers them. And it should. I mean, I get it. But at the same time, if you're not facilitating, an environment where we can do business,
Right.
then why would we be there?
Why do you access? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you see a little bit of it at every other show, but I mean, GDC is the same way.
Yeah.
There's been many years that I didn't get a pass to GDC because as it approached the show,
It's the
all of my meetings were at the hotels.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so
GDC is just the excuse, right, to be there.
That's
all
it. It's like, we have an event that brings everybody together.
Absolutely.
But they're not necessarily going into the conference and paying, the company, which understandably makes the conference angry because that's what they're there for. They're not there to sell hotel rooms and, to pad the bar merchant, the revenue for the bar at the W. It's one of those. But if they would just embrace that and say, hey, look, we're going to have a meeting system that works, that's good. You can set up your meetings and do your meetings wherever you want. If you want to do them outside the show, do them outside the show. That's fine. But we're going to give you the ability to at least find the right people to meet with. And then on the show floor, we're going to have a consumer show. And we're going to, let the fans in, let them see stuff, let them play these games. And if they would just embrace that part of it, then they can really capitalize on this brand because they do. You ask any gamer, not somebody who's like in the industry and we go to all these other events, like what's the one show you want to go to? And they say E3 every year. Except maybe in Germany where they're like, Gamescom. Yeah, but it's one of those that I just feel like it is such a good brand, and it's such a nostalgia thing for all of us anyway.
Exactly.
That I hate to see it just like, no, we're not going to do it this year. It's like, find your identity, know who your customer is.
Yeah, you get it. So man. So you're all about indie. You've been doing a lot of indie things. So have you seen any change during this COVID time in the indie game scene? Positive, negative, whatever. How's the I'm pretty sure you're seeing tons of pitches coming to you and all those things. So what's your general understanding? How
this is, and it sounds horrible to say this, but
I'm ready.
This is a fantastic opportunity and time for indies.
Right.
You've got, I have an 8-year-old and he's like, why do they keep moving the ship date on Fortnite season, chapter, whatever we're on now, chapter 3. And I'm like, buddy, Fortnite is hundreds of people. And, they used to be in this really nice office, at Epic down in North Carolina, and they have teams all over, but the majority of them were right there. I said, when you take a company that big and you go, everybody has to work from home, things take time,
Absolutely. Not that easy.
I get it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this on a lot of the AAA games.
Yeah.
Because you can't just take, something like Call of Duty, or I believe there's like 15 or 20 different studios building Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You can't take that and go, all right, everybody, take your workstation home and just log in Monday and we're going to keep working like we always work. No, it doesn't happen. Indie teams are used to this. It's like their ship dates aren't moving. They're still working. Even if they were in an office, they don't have hundreds of people to coordinate and like multiple levels of management and production. And all. They're just like, they really can go, all right, take your computer home and then, we'll log in and we'll do a Slack chat or a Discord chat on Monday morning for our stand-up. And so there's multiple opportunities coming out. One, we've told indie teams for years, do not release a game in Q4 because you're not going to get any exposure.
All the big titles. Yeah.
everybody, all the streamers and everybody else is going to be playing Call of Duty and, Madden and all these other games that come out, for Christmas, basically. You're not going to, this year, I'm like, I don't know, maybe you should, because my forecast for Q4 is the games that still, the AAA games, the big games, that still manage to ship in Q4 are going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to be a mess, but they're going to be suboptimal.
Rough around the edges.
Yeah. It's not because you just can't. You can't take, and like the PS5 and the Xbox Series One. I really appreciate Sony going, we're still shipping in Q4. And you know what? They probably will.
Yeah.
But you ain't going to be able to find one because there is
the number of units. And
you can't tell me that China shut down for 2 months, 3 months, however long it's been. And then, everybody's just going to come back to the city and start building chipsets. No, they're not.
Not going to happen. Yeah.
And so a lot of these threats that you have in the industry when it comes down to launching and marketing, it's getting shook up this year. Then you've got the fact that publishers, and like I said, I mean, we track like 750 publishers. There are plenty of publishers out there. We talk to these, companies every week, and it's like, we're talking to them. They're like, yeah, we had a 400, 500% growth in revenue. And I'm like, what did you do? What did you change? Like, nothing. Same thing. We had the same marketing, the same everything that we always have. But because everybody's been home, everybody's been playing this stuff. Right. So, I mean, look at Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing, it was just this week dethroned on the eShop as the number one game. And it's a game that's meant to be played a few minutes to an hour a day. Right. And now, not only has it exploded in popularity and they've set all kinds of sales records, but people are they've stopped playing it because it's like, okay, we literally ran out of content. And the team is sitting over there going, well, yeah, because we didn't expect a pandemic where y'all would be playing this game like 3-4 hours a day and like farming bells and setting up. There's this like whole Discord, Twitter underground of places where you can, sell your turnips, and it's absolutely crazy. But so what happens? So my wife is one of these. She's got a Switch. She plays Animal Crossing, but she's starting to get a little tired of it. So what is she going to do? She's going to play Stardew Valley. She's going to play all these other games that are similar, but people still need something to do. And now they have, this is pretty cool. What else is out there? What else can we play? There's a lot of opportunity, not only in the fact that you can get your game published because publishers are looking for more stuff. They have more money. They are looking into areas that they would not normally look. We talk to, a publisher, and we've got 2 or 3 VR games that we're, representing, and publishers who 6 months, a year ago, I could have said, hey, look,
just get a damn
VR game. And they're like, no, absolutely not. Don't even want to look at it. They're going, hey, so what do you have in VR? Because they've got money to risk, basically. It didn't make sense a year ago. But now, there's a little bit more money floating around. And so we can try things that we wouldn't normally try. So the advantage is most indie devs are not seeing that big of a hit in terms of production. There are far more opportunities to pitch your game now because all of these shows have gone digital.
Online,
we did when I think it was a couple of months ago, we sat down and said, we put together a list, which I truthfully need to update, of all the digital conferences that were coming up. And everybody's like, oh, that was so nice. That was a great resource you put up there. And I'm like, I had to do it to try to figure out when we were going to do our digital conference because it's like every week something was going on. There's 3 going on right now.
Wow.
There's a special one for the Dutch developers, the Dutch community. And then we've got our career fair tomorrow
starting
Thursday. And we had to like literally sit down and go, okay, where are times when we can do this that, we're not going to have somebody else on there.
Right.
And we went back and we looked at that list when we were on the podcast and literally went through and added up how much it would cost to attend each one.
Mhm.
And you could attend 15 digital events for
Wow.
less than the cost of going to one regular
Is
event.
one. Oh, wow. That's
It's,
massive.
yeah, I mean, if you have the time and you can
Right.
put some actual thought and work into it,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many opportunities to not only pitch to these publishers,
Uh-huh.
but the publishers have more money to buy stuff with. Now,
Right.
the downside is if it's good for you, it's good for everybody else too. So that's why you see publishers and they're like, yeah, we got pitched 90 games in 3 days.
Yep.
You still have to do all of the
The
things.
filtering system, right?
Yeah, you've got to make sure that what you're pitching is right, and
Right.
you've got the assets that you need, and you need to do it properly. You just can't go out there and go, "Here's our game, play it." But this, I saw all the fear, and when they're like, "Oh my God, PAX is getting canceled.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be able to talk to consumers," and there was a lot of stress that. And I wrote an article, somebody, I don't know which media site it was, like, oh, this pandemic is just horrible for indie devs. And I'm like, you're crazy. This is an
The golden
absolute,
time.
yes, it really is. It's like indie devs have more advantages in the market right now
Oh,
than
yeah.
they have ever had.
Ever had. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you, if it goes back to normal, whatever our new normal is going to be, you're not going to have
Uh-huh.
this opportunity next year.
Yeah. True.
Because a lot of these companies that are doing digital events are
Mhm.
figuring out it's a lot harder than
Uh-huh.
it actually, than they think it is. And
Right.
I will tell you, from running one for the last, 2 years, it ain't something you're going to get rich on. We don't we don't run these events so we can get make a lot of money, because we don't. I mean, I can go ahead and guarantee you that part. And
Mhm.
a lot of times it's like a lot of stuff in our industry,
Mhm.
if you don't love what you do and you're not passionate about what you do,
Mhm.
ain't a lot of point in doing it, because you can make a whole lot more money
Oh,
doing
no,
something
absolutely.
somewhere else. And that's the reason we don't do the events, so we can make money. It's not a revenue driving thing. And
Right.
after 2.5 years of doing the podcast and now these events and all this stuff, it's just now getting to the point where I'm in the back of my head going, I
Mhm.
need help with this. I need, because I'm the one doing it. I
Right.
just refuse to pull resources from our consulting side to
Uh-huh.
work on the indie game business side, because it's
Indicate.
not
Right.
revenue driving.
Right.
It's my hobby that has gotten way out of hand. That's what it is.
That's
And I've got clients,
right.
they don't want to turn around and go, well, why weren't you talking to publishers about our game and sending this thing out, because your
Uh-huh.
team is working on this digital conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the one that's been doing everything. If you have a
Right.
complaint about the conference and you email us, it's me. I'm the one responding. And it's just now getting to the point where it's like, okay, this is getting somewhat
Bigger.
serious,
Yep.
and we need to figure out how we're going to do it. But
Right.
this is absolutely, as an indie developer, you
Mm-hmm.
should be eating this up, because the opportunity is
Right.
fantastic out there right now.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I saw one of your podcasts, which was probably last week. I attended that live, when you were talking about how to pitch to publisher and, what to do and what not to do and everything
Oh,
while
the
pitching.
webinar, or the
Yeah,
one
the
from Brazil.
webinar part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll probably link, that webinar here in this video. But can you tell me one thing which makes or breaks, while you are pitching your game to a publisher, like
Not
just
pitching it to enough people. And that's
okay.
the same issue I've seen for 20 some years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a webinar that we do. We actually do it once a month, and it's live. It's not like recorded. I did a version of it for
Yeah.
the Brazilian Independent Game Festival,
Okay.
big. but it's something that we do every month, and you can
Hmm.
just go to the website and there's a link to it, and
Yeah.
I'll send you the link. But we take this publisher list that we have
Uh-huh.
and we make it freely available.
Okay.
It's not like I know 700 publishers and I'm not going to tell you who they are
Right.
until you sign a contract with us.
Uh-huh.
We give that list away for free. Now it's just the platform that they work on, the company name, and a link to their website. We can't like start putting people's email addresses and stuff out there,
Yeah.
because then we would get sued. But
Yeah.
so what we do is once a month we sit down and I go through that list live and say, okay, here's the list. This is what you need to do to narrow it down to the publishers that are a good fit for your game.
Hmm.
This is how you find the right person to talk to at this company. This is how you find their email address.
Hmm.
This is exactly what you need to put together to send to the publisher. This is how you organize it. This is how you follow up. We go through all of that in an hour.
Right.
Um, the biggest problem that I still see to this day is I'll talk to a developer and I'm like, they're like, we could be interested in having you, hiring you to do this, but
Hmm.
we've already talked to all the publishers. And I'm
Hmm.
like, how many have you talked to? And like 20 or 25. And I'm like, okay, you only missed about 200. So you're good. You're doing great. But that's the problem is, a lot of times developers get tunnel vision. And we see this,
Hmm.
when they come to us and they're like, we want a deal with, 11-bit or Devolver Digital or Tiny Build. And that's like, that's who we want. And that's fine. Those are great companies and they do a lot of good stuff. But at the same time, you have to realize that there are hundreds of other developers that want the very same thing. And
Right.
so it's a matter of being able to network and understand all of your options and
Hmm.
then actually getting it in front of all those people. But
Right.
that's always, I mean, for 20 years, it's like you're just not pitching to enough people,
Uh-huh.
or you're not marketing your game. That's the other question I always get. It's like, hey, our game is launching next week and we have no money for marketing, but we need people to buy it. What can we do?
Right.
And I'm like, pray, pick whatever God you want and
Exactly.
just start praying, because that's about the best that you can do. That's always the other thing. I mean, you have to start, especially now, you have to
Right.
start marketing your game and building your community the minute you have the first screenshot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And folks are going to be like, well, why? I mean, it's because the publishers a year ago would look at us and go, well, this company's already launched on early access. I'm not
Hmm.
sure we want to do it because it's already launched, and so we've missed our marketing opportunity, and we can't control the messaging and blah blah blah. Now we send these packages to publishers, and their first question is, how many wish lists does it have? How
Right.
big is their
Okay.
Discord server?
Oh,
How,
wow.
what kind of community is around this? So you you have to start building that day one, and you
Okay.
can't call me or Uber Strategist or Tinsley PR or Vicarious PR the week before you launch and go, all right, we need to do marketing, because you're screwed at
Already
that point.
done.
Yeah, it's finished. It's over.
Yeah.
There's no more.
Right.
But one, developers don't pitch to enough people,
Right.
and then two, they don't think that marketing and business is actually a part of
Right.
making their game successful. And it is.
Yeah.
It's like, if you are doing this because it's an art form and you just want people to appreciate your message and understand the art that you're creating, do it. Absolutely. No holds bar. Go for it. If you want to do this so you're not working two other jobs and programming at night and making no money, and this
Hmm.
is something you want to do as a career, as a
Right.
long term, it's a business.
Absolutely.
Yes, you are a talented indie dev,
Yeah.
but unless you start paying attention to marketing and business and community building and PR and all this other stuff,
Hmm.
you're going to keep working two jobs and programming at night and making. So it's your choice. It's whichever one you want.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I hope people understand what you mean. I'm pretty sure that
It's
because
moving. I
and
mean,
most of them probably experienced it already.
they do, but we
They never learn.
still get them. But at the same time, I've had several calls over the last year where the developers are like, look, we are just getting started, but we've heard the podcast or we've seen you somewhere and we know we need to start marketing. And I'm like, yes, that's awesome. Now as long as you understand that,
Right.
that's the main thing. You can't, this isn't Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will not come. It doesn't
Right.
matter. You have to have some way of people knowing you exist.
Absolutely. So there's this ongoing debate, whether you should have publisher or not. Like, a lot of discussions we'll see where they don't even need publishers in today's time. So what's your take on that?
It's like everything else. It depends. Hold on, give me 1 second. I got a message I got to answer. It's basically my lunch. My wife just pinged me and wanted to know what I wanted for lunch.
Go ahead.
Uh, and whatever that's, I forget. It depends. And so it comes down to one, your business model, your financial model. If you're doing a free-to-play game, yes, unequivocally, no debate, absolutely, you have to have a publisher. There are always going to be exceptions to that rule. Yes, if you have published 4 free-to-play games right now and you have a couple $100,000, $1 million that you can spend on user acquisition, then no, you probably don't. But that's not the case for the majority of people.
Most of the people.
We had this discussion on the Discord server this morning, actually. And when it comes down to on the premium side, it depends on what your experience is. If you have launched games before, you understand that you have to do QA, you understand that you have to do localization, you understand that you have to do marketing and build a distribution network, you have the means to do it and you have the money to do it, then no, you don't need a publisher. I mean, at the end of the day, publishing games hasn't changed that much in 25, 30 years. You still have to release a product that is quality, that isn't broken, that works. You have to have a place to sell it, be it years ago at GameStop and Walmart and Target and Virgin and all these other places, or now on Steam and Itch and the Epic Store and all this other stuff. And you have to market it. And so if you understand, what that aspect is, then yeah, you can self-publish. It's not rocket science. We're not going out and trying to hit, a space station with a little bitty capsule or something like that. But if you've never done it, you need one because you haven't seen the process all the way through, and you don't know what you don't know. And that's the dangerous part. You may not need funding. Maybe you can get the game all the way to completion and you don't need to go to a publisher and say, I need $50,000 or I need $500,000 or $5 million or whatever that number is. You may not need that, and that's fine. It's going to put you in a much better negotiating position. But if you haven't done an actual release and see the steps that you have to go through to make sure everything is working, to pass lot check at Nintendo, to get influencers and media excited about your game, yeah, you have to do it just to learn. And so that's what I tend to recommend. It's like, if you've never done it, get a publisher so you can understand what needs to be done. If you're confident enough for the next one, then no, you don't need one. But it's like everything else. It's like, do people need a business consultant?
Right.
No. That's why we do our webinars and we release this publisher list. You can do it on your own. I am happy if you do it on your own, but it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of, it's a very specialized part of the industry. And if you don't have the time and you don't understand, all the things that go into it, yeah, it's probably better off, to get somebody to help you. That's the biggest thing. Luckily, the you don't have as many of the nightmare stories with publishers as you used to. It's and people love to complain now about the rates that Steam takes and all this other stuff. It's like they forget what it was like 10 years ago.
Oh, I know that for sure.
It's
Yeah.
they rant, and is Steam's 30% worth it? All right, so put that in perspective. when digital distribution first came out, they were, hidden object games and the casual game market with match threes. That was what was popular.
Right.
Big Fish and Real Networks and all of we had 30 some portals that we had to submit to. Now you go Steam, there you go. Done. Finished.
Absolutely.
We had 30 some different portals around the world that we had to, release game to, because at this point we had transitioned the agency into a casual game publisher. And I'm the one that built that digital distribution network. And in those days, it was a 70-30 split.
Right.
The portal got 70% and you got 30%. And that was just the way it was. That was what everyone was used to.
It was a sweet deal, right?
It was absolutely crazy. And now people are like, oh my God, Steam isn't worth 30%. And it's like, do you want to go back to what we did, 10 years ago?
Oh,
no.
yeah.
And and you can argue, is it worth it? And
right.
But it's one of those that it's just not, it's not the same anymore.
Right.
There's so many things on Steam now, and this is why you need the marketing side of it. You used to be able to just release on Steam, and you would be in that top whatever for a week, 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now you're in it for like an hour, 2 hours, and it's gone.
It's gone.
That was your marketing. Congratulations. So it's different, but yeah, it's one of those things that you constantly have to build your business around the model that exists. And if you don't go into and think about all this stuff in terms of how am I actually going to make money doing this, then no, it's not going to work. It's not going to be worth it. You're going to lose a ton of money. I know, I've done it. I've been there. My first company, we released the first game, big hit, made lots of money. The second and third game didn't, and we were done. That was it. There was nothing else. So if you're doing free to play, yes, you need a publisher. If you're doing premium, it depends. I mean, chances are I would still recommend one, to 90% of the people that are listening, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it's absolutely mandated. You can't do it without a publisher, because that's just not the truth. I mean, you can't.
Got it. So if somebody has to work with the Powell group, right? J. Powell, how does somebody get started with you?
You can go to our website, and there's a link there where you can just book a time to talk to me and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Can you help? Drop me an email, go to the Discord. The Discord is just discord.gg/indiegamebusiness, and reach out, because we've got different business models, all the way down to the free business model, which is, here's the list, here's the webinar on how to use it. Good luck, but I don't want to, it's the same with doing the lectures and the podcast and everything else. I don't want to sit and gate off knowledge simply because you can't afford to do it. So we've got clients that pay us on retainer. We've got a special support program that we've set up um, for indie devs, and then we've got the free option. But yeah, if you just go to the website, there's a thing on there. You can reach out to me directly. You can set up a time to chat. You can find me on the Discord. I mean, my email is just j@powellgroupconsulting.com. Just email me. If we can't help you, I'll tell you that.
Awesome.
I'm not one of those that's like, all right, well, let's get them to sign a contract and that their game is unsellable. That's not what we do.
At what stage somebody should reach out? Like what should they have? Vertical slice, DDD, the full game.
You can reach out to me whenever you want, but
Okay.
realistically, you can't start pitching to publishers until you have a demo.
Okay.
I've sold games based on GDDs before and concept, but that was like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that anymore. You absolutely have to have something playable to pitch it to a publisher. And so the same is true for us. It's like, I'm happy to talk and give you advice, but until you're ready to actually show something playable, you don't need to be talking to publishers. You need to be building your community, but you don't need to be talking to publishers.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, and let people also hear, because I know a lot of people come with a one sheet and that this is my game. I'm going to make it. This is the money I need. So
yeah, we used to be able to do that. We can't do that so much anymore.
So, how's the response for your career day thing? What you're going to start tomorrow, I guess. So yeah,
it's going to start tomorrow. We have a lot of, we got over 300 some people looking for jobs. To be blunt, it's been challenging in the fact that it's like everything else. Like we had to learn when we first started doing the digital event. I mean, the B2B events. We know people are hiring. We had Mark Mincher on the show, the other day, and he said there's 1 million open jobs in the industry right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reality is getting those companies to sign up, for events like this. It's difficult. We've got 20 some companies that are hiring that are there, which isn't bad, but it's not what I expected. And so it's good, from a number standpoint. It's been solid. We're going to write a nice check to Games for Love for the site, because a ticket, if you want a job, the ticket's $5.
Yeah.
And we do that because whenever we give away tickets in the past, people don't do anything.
The seriousness.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't do us any good to give you a ticket to come to our event if you're not even going to fill out your profile. And so that makes everything look worse, because a publisher or a hiring company goes to it and they're like, this is a bunch of like empty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these people aren't. So we put a $5 ticket on there to make it, you have some sort of investment. But at the same time, we couldn't turn around and go, okay, so we're going to charge people $5 to, come in, and then somebody's going to turn around and go, y'all are just trying to make money off people with no jobs. And I'm like, yeah, we can't do that. So we're giving away all the revenue from those tickets to Games for Love. It's like, they're a charity sponsor. Yes, you have to pay $5 to do it, but we're not keeping that. We're giving 100% of that revenue away. And that part's been good. We're gonna, I'm happy with the amount of folks that we've got and the check that we're going to be able to write to Games for Love. The difficult part is, in our head, it's like, it's never been feasible to do these things in the past because you had geography to deal with.
Yeah.
And well, now everybody's working remote, but we haven't seen as many remote jobs come up as I thought they would. And we had a meeting about it this morning. And what we've learned is, because there are so many countries where you can only hire some, you can only hire people from your own country because of tax laws or things like that. You can hire freelancers, but countries like Canada and Australia, if Canada does a fantastic job of having all sorts of programs to help developers and publishers in the industry. And I've often joked that we can go to Canada and start a company and it won't cost anything because there's so many grants but the reality is, if you get any money from any of those grants and programs, and you hire somebody who's not Canadian, or in some cases isn't from your province, then all that money is taken away. And so it's little things like that that come up that you don't anticipate, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to be an issue. So we've got 20 some companies that are signed up, and they've got jobs available. There are more jobs that are on site than I thought we would have. But all in all, it's like, at this point, I just want to make sure people have a good event. I'm not worried. Like I said, this isn't something that we do to make money, because we have spent more time on this event for less revenue than we have spent on any event, so far. But it's one of those things that it's difficult, and you learn, and sometimes it works.
Probably
sometimes it doesn't.
It might set some stage for the other people also, and it might become a thing.
If we've done all this and one person gets a job, I'm thrilled. I'm happy. And that's the way I am at our events. It's like, if we put together something and a developer gets a job a publisher that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, or a marketing company gets a couple of new clients that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, that's good. I'm happy. That's what I want to see. So we'll see. It has definitely been a challenge. And the other thing is, it's like, right after we announced it, 2 other groups were like, we're going to do career days like this week. It's like, I can't, so it's there. We're going to continue to support it. We'll probably do another one. But we have, you can go to our Discord. We have a job board on our Discord, so you can go and find stuff there. So, has it been like the monumental success I wanted it to be? No. Has it been a complete failure? No. It's been a learning experience, and so we've got some good opportunities. But
that's positive.
That's the thing. It's like, all we want to do is help. Now, if you turn around and decide to hire us for something as a result of that help, and you're really pleased with what we do, that's awesome too. But that's not why we do it. We do it for help.
Right. Perfect. Amazing. I guess there's like a lot of tips, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people actually enjoy this conversation. So one last thing before we call it off, so we have been playing games, fighting zombies, and and pandemic has been a thing, especially The Last of Us, the Plague Tale. All these games had the pandemic kind of theme somewhere and stuff. So do you think that we are living in a game?
That's weird. That's a good question. I'm actually reading a book right now where the characters think they are living in a game. And so
which book is that, by the way?
It's called The Wandering Inn, and it's actually free as a web serial online. It's by an author named Pirate ABA. And it's a lot of people from our world, modern time, that just like wake up in a fantasy, dragons and goblins and all this other stuff. But there's like a leveling system that goes, and some of the characters start going, this is like Diablo, or this is like, all
the references.
So I don't know. It's one of those things that it could be. You look at what we can do with AI, and even things like The Sims, and it's like, well, if the AI and that character gets smart enough, does it think that it's living in a game? And for whatever reason, we could be. If we are, I would really appreciate some cheat codes. But if not, then who knows? I think it is an interesting conversation, especially when you think of, you can get deep on the science or the religion side, and you're like,
Yeah.
all right, wait a minute. So what happened before the Big Bang? Is there like another Big Bang? Are we on like a server shard? Is that what's going on? It could be, and the first person that figures out, how the leveling system works in our world is going to be, maybe that's how you get to be a deity.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
Groundhog Day. It's not that I'm that much smarter than you, or that
Uh-huh.
I'm, got some superpower. I've just lived this day for 30 days straight, and I know everything that's going to happen.
Right.
I think it would be, it could be. I certainly would not sit back and go, no, there's absolutely no way. We're like real flesh and blood people.
Uh-huh.
So whoever's playing this game's technology is way better than ours
Yes,
is.
that's definitely better than for sure. Awesome, super cool. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for your time. If you have any parting comment, shoot. I had fun. It was just absolutely chilled out.
Yeah, and that's why we had you on the show. I listened to the show that you did with Justin, and I was like, oh my God, yes, this is it, because this is what we do. And
Right.
we have people on our show, and
Uh-huh.
especially folks that have never done it. They're like, that was fun, and I'm like,
Right.
don't tell anyone, but this is why I do it, because twice a week I get to hang out and just like
With
talk about
friends in the
random stuff
industry. It was
with my friends. And so it is, and it's awesome how you're putting a positive spin on everything, and because we need that right now. And
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
you've got to have something, something to smile about, something to look forward, whether it's listening to a podcast or playing a game or reading a book or going
Right.
outside or doing, whatever.
Mhm.
My parting advice on the business side of things is take marketing seriously. And, when you're going out and you're finding a partner, whether it's for sound design or graphics or a publisher or marketing or whatever, do your research. Make sure you go to all the options that you have,
Right.
because you could very easily miss out on something that is just absolutely fantastic, because you didn't know, you didn't look into it. So
Right.
that's my two big things.
Got it. Amazing. That's really, really great advice. Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Have a
Absolutely.
wonderful evening, and yeah, we'll be around. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. Have a good day with it. Bye.
Bye.